Hello everyone, welcome back to Home and Creativity with Monique. I know I've been MIA for a couple of days, but I have been extremely busy. So today's video will be about me preserving and doing things with tomatoes. So these are tomatoes that were harvested from our garden in the summer, and most of them I froze them in Ziploc bags that you saw earlier in the first clip. So we're going to take these and we're going to make homemade tomato sauce with these. And also I'm going to pull the stems off and give these a good rinse as well. I hope you guys have been doing great so far during the week. And also I just want to thank you guys so much for your support, for watching me, and for subscribing to me as well. I thank you all to new subscribers that has joined my channel. And also I thank you for everyone else, all existing subscribers, for tuning back in with me as well. Thank you guys so much for your support. And if there's like any suggestions of things that you would like for me to try and for me to show, you can always leave those in either questions or suggestions in the comment section down below. Also, if you're not subscribed and you like my content, please consider to subscribe to the channel and also like the videos as well. Alright, so I didn't want this video to be too long. I know my last video about the peppers was like over 40 minutes. So I just want to go ahead and just kind of tell you guys what I'm doing here. So back in the last clip, I was just giving those frozen tomatoes a good rinse, and I was pulling the stems off. And I have my stock pot here, so I'm going to put all of these tomatoes in the stock pot, and I'm going to put them on my stove so that they could boil. Now I let this boil for about like an hour. Well, it actually took an hour to come to a boil. So I'm going to let these boil for like an hour. You may put water, like just a small amount of water, in with the tomatoes if you want, but you really don't have to put any water in with the tomatoes, because the tomatoes are full of water and they will create their own water to boil in. So I'm just placing these tomatoes in the pot, and we're going to switch over to me making some homemade salsa while these are on the stove cooking. So stay tuned for that. Alright guys, so while we're waiting on those tomatoes to boil, in the meantime, I'm going to make a quick salsa. So as you can see here, I have some bell peppers, some hot peppers, a red onion, a lime, and a couple of tomatoes. And we're going to chop all of these vegetables up, and we're going to make a quick salsa. So I'm showing you all the seasonings I use: salt, onion powder, garlic powder. I use some dry cilantro leaves, but fresh is better. 2 cans of Rotel, but I got the Walmart version. Alright, so I'm just dicing and cutting up those tomatoes. Alright, so I'm just showing you all the tomatoes have been cut. So I'm going to cut my bell pepper and also dice the bell peppers up into small pieces as well. And I will also proceed to do my onion the same way, and my peppers as well. Alright, so I have the onion and bell pepper cut up. So now I am cutting my hot peppers. I have 3 jalapeno peppers, and I have 3 cayenne peppers. You can put as many peppers in your salsa as you like. It just depends on how spicy you want it. So of course, if you leave in the stem and the seeds, it will make your salsa more spicier. You can leave the seeds and the stems in and cut it all up, but I took some of mine out, and I just want mine to be like on the mild side, not very hot. So I have my peppers cut up, and I'm just gonna add them in to the bowl with everything else. And I'm just showing you everything has been cut up, and I'm giving it a mix. And I'm going to place this in my blender. Now you can use a food processor. I do have one, but it's broken at the moment, so I have to use my blender. So what I would do is I'm just going to pulse the blender, and I'm just going to pulse it to the consistency that I want my salsa to be. You can have your salsa to be chunky or medium chunky, however you want it. Just pulse it to the consistency that you like or want your salsa to be. Alright, so I'm just pouring that in my bowl, and I'm just placing the other half of the mixture into my blender so that I can pulse it, and your salsa will be ready. Okay, so this is how it looks after I pulsed it. So I'm going to add in 2 cans of the Rotel tomatoes, but as I mentioned before, this is the Walmart version of Rotel tomatoes, and this is just to put back in a little bit of chunky tomatoes into the mix. Alright, and by the way, I also drained the liquid out of both of those cans as well. Alright, so I'm just putting in those seasonings that I mentioned earlier. About the dry cilantro, you do want to make sure you use fresh cilantro. It just gives it a better taste. I went to 2 local stores that I was close by, and they didn't have fresh cilantro, so I just had to use the dry cilantro. So I'm putting in a little bit of cumin powder, and also I'm going to put in juice from 1 lime. Alright guys, so this is the finished product of the salsa. I would prefer to let your salsa sit for a day to marinate, but it would still be good either way. So, and as you can see, I have placed some in some jars as well. Alright, so back to those tomatoes. Alright, so as you can see here, my tomatoes have been boiling for an hour, and I placed them into another bowl because I'm going to blend these in my blender. And if you see that I have the core and everything still intact with the tomatoes, no need to worry, because I will take these and put the puree into a strainer, and I'm just going to mix that puree around in the strainer until all the sauce has been extracted and I wind up with a pulp. Alright, so I'll explain later when that part comes. So right now I just have the tomatoes inside of the blender, and I'm letting it go on the automatic setting, and I did it twice. So I blended it twice just to make sure everything was blended, and as you can see here, it looks very creamy and smooth. And because you are the one that is making it, it will taste even better, because you can season this and make this to your liking. You can make this out of ketchup, barbecue sauce, or your own pasta sauce. So after all the blending, I decided I wanted to add 2 onions and 2 bell peppers and some garlic into my sauce. This is totally optional. You don't have to do this part, but I figured it will flavor my sauce to my liking. So I'm just mixing it all in. I'm going to place this back into the blender and blend all those veggies up into the sauce. Alright, this is my strainer or colander, and my little blade fell out, but it's fine. So I poured my sauce into this strainer, and I'm just going to take my spoon and I'm just going to rapidly just keep stirring around in this strainer until all the sauce has been extracted into my bowl, as you can see here. And in the strainer, you saw all of the pulp and all the seeds and everything that was left behind, because you don't want that in your sauce. So I'm doing it again with the other half of the sauce. And as you can see, after I strain it, it becomes a nice smooth tomato sauce, and you don't have to deal with the seeds and pulp and all that. Unless you want it, you can just keep it like it was. So I just placed this back into my pot to simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm going to attempt to hot water bath place these in some mason jars. So as you can see here, I have some pint-sized mason jars that I have in some hot water. I'm going to boil these for about 15 minutes, and I'm going to use my stock pot. Now normally you would use a rack to put at the bottom of your stock pot, but mine doesn't fit my stock pot, and I'm going to eventually get me a hot water bath canner. So I don't have one at the moment, so I have to use what I have at home. Alright guys, so I'm just showing you that, I just have my little setup. I got my sauce, my towels and everything. So my mason jars are ready, and they have been boiling for like 15 minutes to sterilize. And I'm just going to take these out and place them on the towel so that they can dry a little bit and rest as well. And also, you want, if you canning hot liquids or hot food, you want to also make sure that your canning jars are also warm as well, so that when you place them in your canner, you don't run that risk of them, maybe exploding or breaking or something like that. But you guys, I am new to the water bath canning. I've watched some videos, so I'm not at the moment just going to just give you directions on everything. I'm just gonna let you see what I'm doing here, and I'm hoping that I get more proficient and better at water bath canning. I do know that water bath canning works for acidic foods, and that's like certain fruits and tomatoes and things of that nature, because they are acidic. And when you are canning acidic foods, it can help fend off bacteria in the canning process. So this is would be a reason why that you can water bath canned tomatoes and tomato sauce, as far as I know. But just stating again, canning is a serious process, and you do want to make sure you do that correctly. Otherwise, you can get yourself or your family very sick if something isn't canned correctly. So you guys can watch me if you guys are some canning pros or ever water bath can. Then if I'm doing something wrong, or if you can make some suggestions for me, please leave them down in the comment section below. But just don't beat me up, because this is my first time and I really wanted to try it. And of course, I don't have all the equipment that I need. I am working on trying to get what I need for canning. And also, I want to learn how to do pressure canning as well. So as you can see here, I've already filled up some jars, and I placed a tablespoon of lemon juice at the bottom of each jar, and I'm just filling the jars with the tomato sauce. So I've did that so far, and I'm going to place the lid on those and get those over to my pot of water. As I mentioned earlier, my mason jar rack that you put over your stock pot for hot bath canning didn't fit my stock pot. So I did find another method that you can place like a dish towel at the bottom of the pot, and this just to prevent like a possible breakage of jars when they're boiling. So as you can see here, I took a towel and I dipped it in some white distilled vinegar, and I'm just cleaning the rims and the tops of my mason jars. And you want to do that to remove food particles or anything that may prevent your canning lids from sealing properly. So you want to make sure that you clean those lids with some vinegar. Alright, so I'm just taking my lids out the water, and I'm placing them on top of my jars. Normally, I've seen, people that they have like this little magnet stick device that helps get the lids out of their sterile water. But like I mentioned before, I don't have one, so I just I kept them in the hot water, and I'm being as careful as I can to place those lids on my jar. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, and I'm just going to place those inside my stock pot, and I'm going to only twist the lids fingertip tight. Alright, so I'm going to place these into my stock pot. As you can see here, I switched pots. I didn't feel like it was necessary to have the very big tall pot. So you want to make sure that your water levels are at least covering over the tops of the jars. And as I was putting the jars in, I felt like my water was going to overflow. So this is like the perfect amount of water that they are covering over the jars. So I'm going to cover this with a lid, and I'm going to let this process for 35 to 40 minutes. So after 35 to 45 minutes, I placed my jars onto a towel, took them out the pot, and sometimes what you want to hear for is like a popping sound. That's the extra tomato sauce I have left over that I have to process. But this one with the half one, you don't want to do a half jar, so I'm going to place that in a smaller jar to process it. But you want to make sure that your product is sealed. You want to let this sit for about 24 hours and then remove the rims and check for your seals. But that would be another video. Alright guys, so that was my processing video and salsa video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, God bless.